Is the recording starting?
Yes.
All right, let's get going. So as Sadhna said, this is the first of a series of Birds of a Feather webinars. It occurs to us, since we're not really meeting in person these days anymore for the foreseeable future, there's no reason to wait until Tuesday evening while we're all in one place to go to Birds of a Feather, and especially since those you always clashed with Dave Shaver's beer parties all the time. Now we don't have beer parties either, but what we can do is try to reach out and get together now and then to talk about some of the things that are going on within the HL7 organization and community. And so we'll try to have more of these in the future. We'll be trying to schedule at least once per month, but if you have ideas, please reach out to us. It's a way to get together and say hi to everyone. Today's meeting is about the fire registry at registry.fhir.org. This was developed off the Firely Simplifier platform and delivered a couple of years ago. It hasn't really had as much wide use for a number of reasons. Part of the problems were getting things into the system more easily. There was a lot of mixed content, being draft content that was mixed up with what we won't call production published content. And we needed much better search tools. And so over the last several months, Ward Weistra and the Firely team have been working on a new release of the product, which we think will make it much more useful to support our various activities, to find things like implementation guides, profiles, and extensions, and be able to use them more effectively and try to avoid duplication of content. So at this point, we're going to turn things over to Ward. He's going to give a presentation and demonstration of the product, where it's come, where it's going. And then Graham and I will be around to work with Ward on answering questions. So please enter your questions into the question box on the webinar. We'll hold on responding until we get through the presentation and demo, and then we'll go through them in sequence pretty much, or we'll go through some of them. We'll see how many questions we have. In the meantime, sit back, enjoy, take a look, and let's see what we can learn from this experience. Ward?
Great, thank you, Wayne. And thank you for this opportunity to present to such a large audience. Thank you all for showing up. And as Wayne already introduced, we're going to have a first look at the new registry.fhir.org. It's not live yet on registry.fhir.org, so don't go there yet. We'll let you know. This is a first preview for you as HL7 members. My name is Ward Weistra. I'm the product owner for Simplifier and Forge at Firely, and you can reach me via these contact details here. So feel free to reach out. Any feedback, we're very welcome, and welcome feedback from the community to see where this needs to go. I'll start with a brief introduction of where we came from, and Wayne already gave a few highlights in there. And then what developments made it possible to do better, and then I will demonstrate where we got with the new fire registry. So as Wayne mentioned, we first delivered an iteration of the fire registry, which was a great build on the fire search API, and that was a great resource and very necessary. I think many people have used it, but it indeed had some trouble. Not all the content was there. Sometimes the descriptions were not that intelligible, like the ID we're seeing here for a patient. It only worked for STU3 resources, and of course we're moving on from STU3, and you're missing the context, and that is something new. And recently there have been these great developments in our community that made it possible to do one step better. And that step, as this image already gives a bit away, is fire packages. And I'm copying a few slides from what I've shown at the Fire Dev Days last June on what fire packages are. So I will not go into that deeply, but in short, fire packages are the mechanism that we in the fire community are now using to distribute content that is ready for use by other people to build upon, and it's a versioning of all the items together as a group, so a coherent group that needs to work together rather than versioning the items individually. You can still do that, but packages make it possible, just like in any software environment, to deliver a ready-to-use, stable, never-changing, versioned artifact that you can use to build your to use in your systems or to build your own data models on top. So here we're seeing an example of a fire package. This fire package has two resources in there. They're referring to each other, and because they're within the same scope, it's very clear that they're referring to each other here and not any random profile outside of the scope here. And similarly, if you have an instance and you're validating that against a package, it's really clear what this instance claims to conform to this structure definition. There's only one of them in that package, so it's really clear what you're versioning against. And packages have this kind of dot notation for their package name, and they can have multiple versions. And we'll see a bit more of that. So the package specification is based on the NPM specification. So this is from the JavaScript world, where they're releasing software packages. And the FHir specification for Fire packages is basically a subset of that. And you can read this on the Confluence. There is an entire specification of the NPM packages for Fire. Packages, as I mentioned, are permanent. You cannot delete them, and that's for a very good reason, because other people will start building on top of it. And then basically you're pulling bricks out of someone else's house, and that's generally not a nice feeling. So you can unlist them just to indicate as an author this shouldn't be used anymore, but you cannot delete them. And packages are also the mechanism that are used to distribute implementation guides. They're both a coherent set of resources then with their documentation combined. So this is a short animation of what's in a package. You see that this package is just a box. It's a TGC file, which is nothing more than a fancy zip file. It's a gzip compressed tar file. And when we open up this package, we'll see that there's only one folder in there, which is the package folder. And this folder has a few resources. And the most important one that I'll also go into a bit deeper is the package.json. And this is the package manifest, and it has all the metadata for what's in this package. You don't necessarily need to know all these details, but the metadata that comes from this file is what we'll actually see later in the fire registry. And other than that, there are all the fire resources that you've worked on are in that package, profiles, code system, implementation guides, etc. And there can be other aspects in there, so examples and anything else that you want to distribute in a fire package. And as I said, this package manifest has metadata in there. So the package has a name, the package has a version, the package itself has a canonical, which aligns with the canonical for the implementation guide. It can have a URL where the human readable documentation is placed. It can have a nice human readable title and a description. It will specify what fire versions it is for. It will specify on what other package it's building. Generally, there will always be a fire core package in there because you're always building on the fire core spec. But sometimes you're also building on something else, like the US core in this case. You can give keywords, which are really useful for search. And you can specify who builds this, who maintains this, and under what license you can use this. So keep this in mind, and we'll see this back later in our search interface. So we have this stable mechanism for delivering fire packages, and it's really clear that the content in there is ready to be used, and it's meant by the authors to be used by the community. And then it all needs to come together because there's many places where fire content is being published. First of all, of course, we have the core fire spec itself, which is being published. We have HL7 terminologies. We have the Fire Foundation, who used to give out packages and guides. But also there might be many other organizations. So you can easily set up your own package feed right now, like HL7 Australia has done, and there are some others who have joined since then to bring out your own packages. And also, of course, the Simplifier platform that I manage with Firely is a kind of a YouTube for fire. So really the place where you can make your own fire content. You have all the tools, and you can also publish there your fire packages to the world to be used. And this all comes together in one file where all these feeds are registered, and those are being read by our package server. And this package server brings in all these different packages together, and Simplifier has all the machinery to do that. And as a machine, you can connect to packages.simplifier.net or actually to package.fire.org. They're currently synonyms for each other. and a computer interface can easily find packages there according to the NPM standard. And this slide was actually something I already presented at the fhir Dev Days, but then I still grayed out the fhir registry here. But right now, this is something we can show. The fhir registry now works on these fhir packages. So all the content that's being published in the fhir world is out there. And it's really clear from the author's perspective whether they meant this to be used to be ready for consumption or not. So then that brings us to the demonstration of the fhir registry. So let me back out of this. And first I'll show you the current fhir registry. So this is where we came from. And this is the new fhir registry. So as I mentioned, this isn't deployed yet on registry.fhir.org. It's currently on an, because we're still collecting this feedback, it's on an IP address here. But this is the interface for the new fhir registry. And the team was very excited to work on this because we don't think this is just a search interface. We actually think this might be the entry place for many people coming to the fhir community, because they might have heard a command from someone else. Okay, you need to install this fhir package, or you need to find this resource, work with it. And this might be their first entryway into the community. So we thought we should take advantage of that and clearly explain here, let them learn more about fhir. So we have pointers here to the fhir spec, of course, and places where they can learn more about what fhir is and how to use it. We have clear guidance on what fhir packages are, and also how they can publish a package, how it would end up in this package registry. And of course, the very well known to you community channels like chat.fhir.org, community.fhir.org, and the implementation guide registry should be clear at hand to find. So this is the start for the fhir registry, but of course we came here to see how well the search works. And in developing this fhir package registry, we first thought, okay, who are we developing this for? And in that, we defined 4 different user personas, and I'll use them in my demo here to show you how this can work for different kind of people. And in this case, we're starting with Gerard. Gerard is from the US, and Gerard is planning to build a implementation guide on value-based care in fhir. And this is what we built before that we actually started building anything. And these are a few of the keywords that we would be using, like prior authorization, episodic care, guidelines, pathways, value-based care, etc. So let's take these some of these search terms and see how well they do in the fhir registry. And of course, I've selected for the best cases here. So he's typing prior authorization, and when we do that, you'll see that very quickly we have search results. It's even posting how quick it is. We have the search results here of fhir packages that align with this query. So I'll first show you the interface here. So the top bar is still the same, but in the middle we have the search results, and on the left we have filters to go deeper into those. And every search result that we see, every white box here, is one fhir package. And sometimes it will be that the fhir package is actually the hit, but sometimes it will be the resource within the fhir package. So in this case, there's a direct link between what he's searching here, prior authorization, and the title of the package, so the DaVinci prior authorization support. So we found a package that is of interest to us. This filters here on the left will allow us to do a few things. We are by default searching in any fhir version, but we can quickly limit that to 1 or multiple fhir versions, like just in R4, only 32 results then. Maybe we include STU3 and we have 49 results. So we can quickly filter only things that are relevant to us. And by default, we're also only searching in the latest stable version of the package. So packages can bring out many different versions. Actually, let's have a look at the prior authorization support here. I'm not sure if they've brought out multiple versions. Oh, sadly they haven't, but we'll see them in a moment. There's different versions of multiple packages, and sometimes these versions are ready to be used, and then they will have a normal version number. Sometimes they can be only pre-releases that are meant for developers and people who are very interested. And sometimes there will also be older versions of the package. So when we uncheck the latest release only here, right now we have 50 results. we'll see that we have way more results because we're also searching in the older versions of these packages right now. So this can sometimes be useful if you're looking for something very specific that was taken out of a package. But by default, we turn this on. Good. So let's look at the next query that he has. He was searching for guidelines. Guidelines is a very generic term, of course. But as we're typing, we see that the search results are being updated and we find the clinical practice guidelines packages here. And we see now also that it's not just hitting on the description of the package itself, but also the resources within that. So there's apparently 2 libraries, which are also named guidelines, which are relevant to this search. So this package has a name. This is the general package name. This is what you would install. It has a title. It has a canonical, so the unique identifier, same as the implementation guide. And there's much more metadata here, and that we're also going to see when we actually click through to the package page. So on the package page itself, we have a summary with all the descriptions of the package itself. We have on the right here more metadata, so the version, the fhir version that it's in, when it was last updated, what license it is under, which group has worked on it. And there's 2 links here. So one is to be able to view the package homepage. So this is what the package specified, where the documentation page is for this package. So let's open that in a new tab here. And you see that we are being transported to the corresponding implementation guide, the hosted implementation guide for this package. So this is great. We can find the documentation of what we're looking for. Similarly, we can look at the contents of the package. Package has many different resources in here, so 71 resources. We can choose whether to view them all in a page or just a few. And we can see the dependencies that this package has. This is not, from that perspective, it's only dependent on the core in this case. But let's look at a different package here. For example, I'm someone in the US and I've heard about this PDEX standard from DaVinci. So I might not exactly know how to spell it. So I search here for PDEX. And actually I'm being corrected. It's PDEX with an E in there, but it's clearly finding the package here and it knows that this is probably the most relevant hit for us. So generally you see that the most relevant hits are coming up to the top for what we're searching here. You see that it has a really nice description here. It has a link to the page on the fhir.org where the documentation is, or a link on Simplifier where you can see renderings of all the different resources. So you see here in the dependencies, it's not just relying on the core here, it's also relying on US core and on DaVinci HREX. And we can directly click through to these packages and see, so this was the 3.0.0 version of US core. But we can see that actually that is not the latest version of US core. So there's a 3.1.0 version of US core already out. So we know that they can update that. So this is where we see the older versions of a package, and we can also see that they have different fhir versions here within that same package. Okay, so this is how we find a package that is interesting to us. Now let's continue to our next user, and our next user is a programmer from Germany. So she's Mariana. And she is looking to build a user-facing questionnaire that's based on the structured data capture implementation guide. So she is going to search for SDC because she knows that's the abbreviation for it. Or she's searching on structured data capture, and she will then find within the top hits the package that's actually relevant for her and resources within that are relevant. So once she has found the package that's relevant for her, of course, she needs to use this and wants to build on top of this. And then I'll explain what these commands are here. So this is how you would take this fhir package and install this on your own machine. So there's 2 commands here. So one is using the npm standard. So because the fhir spec is a subset of the npm package registry, we can just copy the command here. and go to our command line, paste that in here, and now it will download the package from the fhir package registry and install it into my local npm cache. So that went very quickly, but it's now added to my my package here on my machine. So this is the generic npm standard. So this is you can just use it together with the other npm packages. But fhir has also thought about, okay, our packages might be a bit different from your general software package. So maybe we should have our own fhir cache where we install those packages. And one of the tools that you can use to install that is Torinox. So this is a tool that we provide for free from fhirly. It's a command line fhir tool, and this will install the package to your fhir cache with this command. Just fhir. There's no need to specify a registry, but it's because it is automatically tuned to the fhir package registry. And we can quickly install this package to our fhir cache. And the benefit is that this is the same fhir cache that also the IG publisher is using, that Forge is using. So once you've installed this once on your machine, there's no need to download this another time from a different tool. So also the IG publisher or Forge will download this if you just specify this package name in your dependencies. Okay, so that's Mariana from our programmer side. How do we install this package? Then let's move on to Doug from Canada. And Doug is very timely working on a value set around COVID-19. And he's wondering whether there's already within the fhir world some value sets available. So let's go back to the package registry, start from the start, and search what is available for COVID here. So we'll see that there are multiple packages available. So it found 50 results, but generally the top results are best here. So we see that Data for Life has published a package around their application around COVID-19. So it's a self-assessment questionnaire. We see that Daedalus, an Italian IT company, has also made their the data model behind their app for self-assessment around COVID-19 available. And we see that the fhir terminology support has multiple hits for COVID-19 too. So in this case, the user is not just interested to anything around COVID-19, any package, but specifically he's looking for value sets. So then we can use the resource filter here and say, okay, show me only value sets that are related to COVID-19. And what you will see is that the results within the packages and also the total results will update to show you just packages that are still relevant with this query. So Data for Life has multiple value sets in their COVID-19 package. They're mostly yes/no value sets, so maybe that's not what he's looking for. But if we look at the terminology support here for R4, you'll see that there is 2 COVID-19 value sets, so observation codes and condition codes. So those might be exactly what he's looking for. So let's dive into those. Okay, so it's the same overview that we've seen before, but now let's dive into the contents. There's many different resources in here, but just to get to the right content here, we could just download the package and find this on our own machine. But right now we will just make use of what we can already see here. So when we order this by alphabet, we know what the title was. So there's our COVID-19 condition codes. And what we've done is, so the package registry itself doesn't have a viewer, but actually all those value sets also live on Simplifier. So we've provided you with a link here that you can directly view the specific resource rendered on Simplifier and see, okay, these are the different codes, the condition codes that you can use around COVID-19. So if this sounds relevant, okay, you can close this again and download this package and use the value set wherever you want to use that. So that's our third persona, and then let's go to our fourth persona here. And this is Lucy. And Lucy similarly is looking around, is looking to build a questionnaire response around COVID-19. And similarly, just as we've seen with the value sets, we can go back to our previous search result and just limit the search results in this case, maybe around COVID to instead of value sets. So let me uncheck the value sets. And let's say, okay, we're just looking for, oh, not these two. We're looking for questionnaires. So similarly, we can easily find, okay, there's already some questionnaires available to us around COVID-19. I think that is a rough, quick round trip of the things you can do with the new fhir package registry. What we can see is that it's very quick, and it seems to, in my testing, give you very relevant results for the questions that I've been able to come up with. But this is, of course, something that we really would like to test with HL7 and test with the community and get your feedback on. There will still be, so as I mentioned, we're showing latest stable releases only by default. And that means that we're excluding anything where the author has specified, okay, this is a pre-release, or where they have specified, okay, I want this package to be unlisted. Don't show this again, please, because I don't want to support this. That doesn't mean that there is only beautiful content in here. And that's actually by design. Just like on a YouTube, there will be, we want to have this as open to the community as possible. So anyone should be able, without a gatekeeper, to publish things to the registry. But what we want to do is to make sure that we service the best packages first. So we really try to make sure that the most used packages and the most downloaded packages, this is something that we'll be working on in a later stage, will inform the best search results. But already now, I think the search results are very, very good. So for example, I want to probably close. Wayne, let me know when we need to move on, but I want to probably give you a few more nice examples. For example, if I want to search whether there's already a profile for blood pressure. So when I'm searching here for blood pressure, I see that there's a lot of good hits already. So there's this one from the Personal Health Device Implementation Guide around blood pressures. From the fhir core, of course, there's a structure definition for blood pressure. From the Dental Exchange, we see blood pressures. And we can actually still filter here whether we actually want examples of observations around blood pressure, or we want structure definitions for I can't type anymore. Structure definition for observations, and we can easily filter the packages that are relevant to us in this case. So it's easy to find blood pressure observations in this way. Another one that I like a lot is, for example, searching for Karen or for Blue Button. Of course, very relevant packages right now. So Karen Blue Button is one of the top hits. If we search for Blue Button will be your top hit. Yeah, there's Karen Blue Button. If I'm interested, for example, has already anything been done on genomics in fhir? Probably a very fair question that people will actually have. You quickly find the genomics reporting guide. You will find other genomics related hits in other packages, for example, cancer genomics report in MCode package. Similarly, we can find whether anything is already done on dental care. We already seen the package, so we know this answer. But there's the dental data exchange, breast cancer, we'll quickly find breast cancer screening libraries from the relevant libraries, or the US breast cancer package. And yeah, I think I have way more of these examples, but Wayne, probably we should take this as a nice time to answer questions and open it up. Are there any questions from you, maybe? to start off.
We have a long list of questions. I'll let Graham leave if he has any particularly to bring up, but lots of interest. So, anything you
Very
want to say,
good.
Graham?
Hey, so
Hey, Graham.
well, let's try and be organized with these questions. There's a few questions about value sets. So
Okay.
the value set included in the package is the value set as the author defined the value set.
Mm-hmm.
We don't populate the expansions in the packages, although for some implementation guides, we produce and publish a separate expansions package that includes the expansions as we publish them in the implementation guide. But mainly we do that for the core in order to help with code generation and we only publish those that we bound to as a required value set. Our general approach is that we don't distribute expansions. And so if you want to actually use the value sets in the packages, you'll need a terminology server.
Yeah, and I think it should be said also that we're not searching in specific terms within value sets at this point, but we are searching in the titles and descriptions of the value sets.
There's a couple of questions about the functionality for you, Ward. One
Okay.
is, where do we see the version of the IG that is associated with the package?
Okay, so let's take an example of one of the packages that we've seen before, maybe structured data capture. So Graham, you will probably know better than I do the link between metadata in a package manifest and the metadata in a implementation guide. But at least every package can specify this is where we have published our implementation guide. This is where you can read it on the web. And if you follow that, sorry?
That's the package homepage, which is the link for where it's actually published.
Yeah, exactly. And here we'll see indeed this is the 2019 May version of structured data.
So I thought that there was a link to that on the search page itself.
I think we try to keep the interaction such that the only thing that the hits on the search page do is bring you to this to the relevant package page.
Okay.
And that's where you can dive into deeper, because there are so many things you might want to do here. Copy canonicals for resources.
Okay. There's a question about simplifier functionality. Okay. If I need to publish my IGM profiles, I still need to check the box to publish to the registry, and it's only available on a paid simplifier.net subscription.
Okay, so that box is basically the old approach. So the box is how we used to fill this guy, registry.fhir.org, in its current form. And that came from simplifier projects, and only simplifier projects which deliberately chose to publish to the fhir registry. In fhir packages, we have a different way of indicating whether your package is ready, and that's by saying, I make this a public package, because you can choose to have private packages, and I specify this not to be a pre-release. And how you do that is with your package version name. So if you specify anything number dash something, then you will indicate this is a pre-release, and you indicate this is not something that I want other people to start building on. Anything that you publish just as a public package, so without the pre-release label, will be included in the simplifier or in the package registry. And this is something, of course, that simplifier needs to be very clear on, that people don't do that just in any case, just for testing. If you search in here on the word test or demo, you will definitely find those packages right now. And we'll try to make sure that at least we can contact them and maybe suggest to keep them out. But this is also what happens for any other registry. We just need to make sure that we serve the best content first, which I think we're doing quite a good job at. But publishing these packages is just free on Simplifier. You have a free project, you can create packages from that, and you don't need a paid account for that. But it's limited to one project per person. That's currently the limit.
Thanks. Josh asked the hard question. What approaches are we thinking about to keep the results relevant and sorted? For instance, if I'm looking for US core, US core is not in the top 5.
Okay, let's do the live testing here. So US core will definitely bring up the US core package. That's something I'm very sure of. So US core patient, he mentions that doesn't bring up the US core in the top 5. Seems to be correct. Yeah, so there will definitely be tuning in there. This is just we're working with Elasticsearch here, so a really state-of-the-art search engine. And in Elasticsearch, we can make sure that we give weights to the different components where it hits. And one thing we want to make sure is that if it hits, for example, in a package name, that has more weight than if it just someone says in their description, hey, by the way, we also looked at US core.
Can you go back up?
Yeah, surely.
To the search box itself.
Okay.
Did we have? I use the resource filters to filter like to just profiles. Go on. I think.
Yeah. So we could just say indeed we're searching a US core, and within there we're looking for patient resources or structured definitions on patient. It depends on what you want to look for. But,
so what if we're looking for structured definitions, profiles? That's going to be obscure to people. We need to work on that. You don't search for profile.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine that people at this point already clearly know, okay, this is where I need to look for my US core patient. But yeah, tuning, just like your Google index, finding what's the right thing will have trade-offs, and we need to benchmark that against many different searches.
Yeah, I'll have to work on that one. Okay.
Okay, so if we filter on structure definition and we type US patient, then we do get it on top. It needs one more hint.
Okay, Lisa, how do we see the history of packages that have been published for one version of the IG? I think at the moment the only answer is that the implementation guide itself publishes its own history, and you have to look there.
Well, I can at least show you the package history, and I guess structured data capture has some history. Yeah, there's version 2.7. So there's a history here, and you can just click through to the older versions of the package. So this currently has 3 versions: 2.7, 2.5, 2.0. And when you go to this older version of the package and you go to the package homepage, you will find the related implementation guide too. So this is the SU2 version of structured data capture. And I imagine that would align with what we're seeing in the version history here, where we saw the 2.0, the 2.5, and the 2.7 version.
Yeah, the SDC history, not all of these IGs will make it into the build, into the registry.
The old versions, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So Kelvin Albrecht wants to know, the package specification requires semantic versions, but the UI uses codes. Is it possible to search and display by the semantic file version instead? Not so much through the user interface, but if you really wanted to do that search, Kevin, there's an underlying package API that you could use, which is documented on the Confluence site. But yeah, it's the underlying package API here.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're a machine, you should definitely not be talking to this user interface. We have a dedicated endpoint for that.
Do the IG version numbers and the package version numbers have any correspondence? So there are packages that are not for implementation guides, but every implementation guide that is published through HL7 has a package with the same version number. It's always the same version number. And if we issue technical corrections or patches, they have the same version number. Diego wants to know about support for non-English implementation guides.
That's a great question. So I'm not aware of having built any language-specific features in there, other than that the user interface, of course, is in English. And I definitely know if you search for a Deutschland in here, am I typing that correctly? You're finding our German friends, the base profiles from Germany here, the R4 versions. So I think technically that should work. Maybe if you go to special characters, I'm not sure how good we are with Korean or Chinese. Well,
I don't think we have any published packages in Korean or Chinese or one of those character sets yet, but there's some coming.
okay, well then we should test
yeah,
it.
I don't think we have.
It works in German at least.
Yeah, I don't think we need any language features right now. Diego, if you think we do, contact me directly.
Wish you know a nice Spanish search term for us.
Lisa wants to know about finding package dependencies. So we haven't done anything about that either in the user interface or the API so much. So that's something that we'll think about.
So the dependencies are listed, right, in the user interface. Did you?
Yeah, but not the reverse. Like if I look up US core, what depends on US core?
Yeah, that's definitely something we would have liked to build here. It was something we couldn't deliver in time, but all the data is here, so we can definitely compute that. So this will be indeed, I think, where we really like to go is to have that, how many packages are dependent on this package, to give an indication of quality, because it's probably a good package then. And that combined with how many people have actually downloaded or viewed this package. That's for a later stage.
Right. Lisa wants to know if you're a normal user, an actual human, and you don't have an NPM cache. So you'll have one as soon as you need one, Lisa. It's not something you actually install or anything. It just automatically, magically appears. And most of the fhir tooling automatically, magically created and installed packages as you refer to them. You don't have to worry about it at all.
Well, I think Lisa does have a point in the sense that there is no download this package button here, which actually just occurred to me during this demo, which would be a simple thing we can actually add.
Yeah, although the typical user, what are they going to do with the package?
Well, as long as you have a fancy unzipper like 7-zip or something, you can just unzip it like any other zip file and look at it, see the resources.
And then, yeah, then what do you do? So the answer is, Lisa, that the intention is that the packages that are served tooling. So if you don't have tooling, you'd go and look at the package homepage, the implementation guide. And if you have tooling, the tooling should automatically pick up the packages.
If you really want, you can click through to the simplifier, because I think actually there we do have a download button here. So if you really want to download the package, you can still go here.
Yeah. Keeping going. Lisa wants to know whether we've considered including some ranking of maturity for the packages.
Yeah, I think, Graham, we thought about this. So I think there's three ways you can better order those packages. One is by popularity, which were the two things I just mentioned. The other one would be authority, that we just say, okay, HL7 gets ranked above the rest or something. Or we try to look at quality but quality is a really hard thing to judge just from the contents of a package.
We could also actually pick up on the maturity, the FMM levels, but we don't at the moment have an editorial process for associating a maturity level with a specification, only with the parts thereof. But those are not visible into the package registry, the maturity level. So we could consider that as a future enhancement, but it's a future enhancement to the entire ecosystem, not the package registry itself. Q is got a variation of the question. Does best only mean most used, or are there any QA measures taken account of? And the answer is pretty much that there are QA measures on the packages, but they're binary. If you're in, you're in, and if you're not in, you're not in. So in the sense that you're talking about, no, I don't think so.
No, ending up on top of the list is just because we think it's most relevant at this point, based on textual comparisons.
So that answers Patrick's question as well. Best content is based on text comparison. Someone wants to know whether we have NuGet packages for .NET based HL7 file servers. And the answer is no, we haven't been publishing NuGet packages, and they're not packages of code. And I don't know whether it would make sense, but would you guys have a .NET based HL7 file server? Presumably you'll pick up the NPM packages.
Yes, exactly. We will just use the fhir specification of packages to load them. Just like Happy Server recently has built support for fhir packages, loading those and even exposing them as a NPM package server, although I guess that is Java, not JavaScript. So I think it's indeed separate from the code, besides from maybe you can reuse that one component in your organization where you're already distributing images to your colleagues. But
so we're certainly encouraging the servers to support NPM packages as part of their sort of installation framework or setup framework.
Yeah.
You know, that you can easily install packages.
Yeah, and you can expect the .NET library also to support NPM packages, fhir NPM packages.
Jens wants to know if the current IG pipeline publishes to the registry. So the way it works and this is for anybody using the IG publisher, the IG publisher doesn't publish to the registry, but it's got a special mode where it maintains a website, a series of published implementation guides, and it's used to maintain the core HL7 website, also the fhir website, fhir.org website, also affiliates Australia and Switzerland, and Belgium is working on it. And in addition, I'll be setting up for IHE this week, and all of those websites do publish to the registry as part of publication, not build, but publication. And so all of the focus around populating the IG registry is associated with publication. And Jens, if you wanted to set that up, all that infrastructure up for Denmark, then feel free to contact me about how to do that.
Yeah, I have to backup slides actually here on creating packages. So there's a few ways of doing it. Command line with the IG publish right now, or doing it with a user interface on Simplifier. And similarly on publishing, and actually this information is also available from the website itself, but validated fhir HEs go directly to their HL7 feed. Any package created on Simplifier is going for the Simplifier feed, and then indeed, as Graham mentioned, you can go full DIY and create your own package feed and have that being taken up by the package server.
Sean asks whether the registry provides all the information I need to add a dependency to an IG. It has it all, Sean, but it doesn't display it. So we could certainly display that somewhere, which would be a future enhancement. Do you display the canonical URL?
We most certainly do, yeah. The canonical URL is there, the package name, the package version. So I think indeed you have everything there, what you need to put in your implementation guide resource or type into Forge or.
Yeah.
So the canonical is here, the package name is here, and the package version is here.
So you have all that, Sean. It's just a matter of syntax after that.
Yeah.
Kevin wants to know if there's a way to see all the packages published by a specific organization.
Well, so organizations publishing aren't currently a standardized field, but they're being searched. So as long as you type just HL7 Australia or something, you will find the packages that are being published by HL7 Australia, because that's just one of the fields in there.
Why do we find PDEX for that?
That is a great question, and I'm sure somewhere under the hood there will be an answer. There's probably something with Australia in here. It's deterministic, but I think it's just this is where it drops off the relevance.
Getting to very irrelevant content there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Sean. Yes, there is an API which Ward already referenced before. Jens wants to know whether we can highlight something, because if other packages depend on the package, it becomes more important. And that is part of an answer, although some packages will be very used and very important, but they'll also be leaf packages in the package node, because we only track use as in derivation through the package registry. We don't track use as in actual implementation, which is actually more important than derivation. So it's only a partial answer.
Yeah, I think we'll try to get indeed how many packages depend on this as one of them, and then get the download number as a proxy for how many people have implemented this. But that's probably the closest we can get.
So I think I've got to the end of the questions. I skipped a few questions because they seemed like a restatement of previous questions.
There's an answer to our HL7 Australia PDEX question. It's included in Australia query because the registry gives 47 constant results for all queries and adds correct results on top of it. Well, that would sound very interesting.
Interesting.
We're just about out of time.
It's not a serious one.
Maybe you can give us a little view of where we're going next with this in terms of releasing it for use by the community and piloting it out. What's the intent?
Great point, Wayne. So let me bring up, I actually made a slide on that. I think the first step, so we want to show this to you first, and the next step is that we'll bring this up on registry.fhir instead of the current application. And then, of course, we very much welcome community feedback. I'm not sure how you want to channel that, Wayne, but I'm happy with anyone sending that to me by email or by Zulip. We already know some possible improvements.
Probably best to do it by Zulip, so it's shareable rather than email, if possible. So do you have which stream to use on that, just to clarify that? And at some point when we go into production, we'll be going into Jira reporting for bugs and issues and enhancements. But I think at this point, it's kind of like, you say community feedback, like what do you think? What ideas you have? And then we'll transition.
Yeah, shall we start a stream in Zulip under tools, Graham?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. And there's a few things we already know that we want to do, like jurisdiction filtering was something we couldn't add right now because it isn't in the package metadata. If you do a few searches, you will find the right package for your country, like the Denmark core or the German core or the UK core, for that matter. You'll find them, but we can make that easier with jurisdiction filtering. Yeah, so that's I think the next step. This will come over the next weeks, and we'll publish that on Zulip.
Yeah, and I think the hope was to have it by the working group meeting, right? Available to people to bang on a little bit, or is that still doable?
I'm sure that should still be doable to bring it to the public. I'm seeing a few smart people already copied the IP address, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it certainly opens up a lot of new opportunities for what we can do with this information. So, and that connecting to the package, to the packages is really critical to the entire design here. So we'll be presenting updates, and we'll let you know when it's available at the link. And I think that's about all we have for time today. So again, we'll get the Zulip stream up there so that you can post comments to that. We'll be doing some more Birds of a Feather coming up, I think probably right after the working group meeting. Yeah, I think that's all for today. Thank you very much, Ward, and thanks, Graham, for fielding all the questions.
Thank you.
Really happy to have you pick them all up. We'll be talking soon. Thank you all for joining us today, and see you at the working group meeting in Connect-a-thon coming up in a few weeks. Bye-bye.
See you there.